love you to address one more thing before we wrap things up. And that is one thing that you teach your clients is to not view challenges as roadblocks or bad, but to see them as an opportunity to learn and grow. And I'd love to have you just nail this point home, because I think most of us in the world, if we get hit with some really bad roadblocks, challenges, oh, how was your day? Oh, it's terrible. This happened, then that happened. And I think we define success as the absence of conflict. We define success as the absence of challenges. But what you are saying and what you're teaching is that, and I can't remember which special forces leader said this during an interview, but like when they were on a mission and something went seriously wrong that could have threatened lives, his response was good. And they're like, what do you mean good? Yeah, good. We'll figure out what to do. This is just another challenge that's going to stretch us and grow us. And I'd love for you to talk about that idea, because I think if we just reframe that one thing, that when those quote unquote bad things happen in our day, we're not going to see them as just, oh crap, it's another bad thing in my day that I'm going to have to, but see it as, oh wow, I might be able to learn something new.
There's two things that come to mind right now. One, which most people know, is the Colonel Sanders story with Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? He has this recipe that's magically, how many times did he try to sell the darn thing? And just about when he was about to give up, boom, it gets accepted. And here comes, a huge franchise that got created from it, right? And one thing that we were always taught in any development course that I've taken is that the learnings happen from the failures. Right, because it again, it shifts neurology. It's you learn something that's new. One of my colleagues came up with a formula that basically says when it's fun, novel, and new is when the learning occurs. Okay, and the doing piece is what's important, because you need to engage in order to understand what that is. The other story that comes to mind is I was recently at my youngest son's IEP session, which is the educational program evaluation to determine what he needs to do moving forward, especially now that he's going to be going into grade 7, right? So, everybody's there, the teachers, the principal, the regional psychologist, like everybody. There's a team of 7 or 8 people. And, they were explaining what his limitations are, and because he's in a wheelchair, and how long it takes for him to change, and, his medication, so on and so forth. And he's tired at the end of the day, which is all true. But again, I always look at positive, and I always look at potential. So this is what I asked them. And this is to your point now, right? I said, we're all educators in this room. Yes? Yeah. We all know that learning happens when the child, or in our case, the inner child, is inspired. Okay. So the question is, what is it that inspires you first and foremost, right? And in the case of this interview, I said, what do you think inspires my son? In his case, he loves music, right? He's a wild animal. Like, he loves excitement. He loves music. He loves the radio station. And then the second thing I posed to the teachers, I said, if a child falls in the schoolyard and they get cut, what do you do? And they said, well, first aid, put the Band-Aid on, and off we go. Good. What are the chances that child's going to fall again in the exact same way? Slim to none. Why? Because they learned from the fall. So then the question was, what is your definition of my son falling? Okay, so what's the moral of the story? You need to find out what your comfort zone is and step outside of it. And sometimes it is having the courage to be vulnerable and tell your story. Sometimes it is, reading a book. Sometimes it is reaching out to a friend that you haven't spoken to before, right? There's so many different ways to put you in what's called a resourceful state that we all have. It's a choice. Okay, so when somebody complains, oh, woe is me, blah, 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 complaint, all they're doing is taking themselves out of a resourceful state. And then you say, well, when I'm happy then. No, you choose to be happy now. That's a choice. Okay, so as long as the resourceful state is positive and supportive to what you need, there will be growth out of it. Now, you'll get and hear somebody saying, but what if it's a big trauma, big issue? Yeah, that's the job of the professional or the friend or whoever that's outside of you to hold that space. Or as James said, asking the questions in a way that reframes you so that you get the learning. And the key thing is that the other person gets the learning. As soon as you have to tell them what to do, how do you feel when somebody tells you what to do and it's not really what you want to hear?
I can't say this in public radio.
Right? So it's again, I keep going back to environment. I keep going back to values are important. What's important to you? And then you learn to embrace the challenges. Now, once you get hit with a really big one and you know how to overcome it in a way that's supportive for you to understand what your calling is, that's when the magic happens and you meet other people like who are on this call, which then keep taking it to the next level, right? It never stops. So is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can attest to that with what I just went through the last 2 months. Either I could have cowered and just fold, or I just took it as I know this is a positive sign. So what can I do about it?
Yeah. Yep. What can you do about it? How do you want to respond? What's the outcome that you're looking for in the future?
And I think the other thing I had clarity on, and Stel's alluded to this quite a few times today, is I got a lot more clear idea of my purpose and where I want to be and how I want to be. And a lot has to do with my environment change. I've been working on a lot, and it's who am I hanging out with the most, even if it's Stel. Sorry, I couldn't let it go. But but seriously, you are one of the ones that's helping me get to the next level. It's to the point I'm scared crapless about what the next level is going to be, because I know it's going to be tremendous, but let's go for it. Where's this wave going? And this is the first time I'm saying, I don't know where the wave's going, because I used to need to have that control before I wrote it. Now just whatever beach I end up, I know it's going to be better than what I'm at now. So.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Well, Stel, this has been just really enlightening. I'd love just a reaction from James and Andre before we wrap up. James, what's your takeaway from our discussion today?
Ooh. There are lots of takeaways. I have tons of notes.
What's
right?
the biggest one? What's the biggest
what I would say is the biggest takeaway is the understanding that we're constantly reframing all the time. And the key is, now that you know that is happening, let's interrupt the automatic reframing and leverage reframing for your benefit, for what you want to achieve, for who you want to be.
Wow, that's awesome. Andre, how about you?
Well, at the beginning, I wasn't too keen on the title, Unlocking the Potential. I had a challenge with the word unlock. To me, lock, it's someone else's control, right? And I'm just putting this together. I'm making this up as I'm going here, but it's making sense as I ramble. But when Stel brought us, says it's more about unfolding, like that's a better term, because if we unlock something, the floodgates could come out, but the unfolding means it's there and we're just not opening the piece of paper. So once we just bring it out, it's a process to slowly and then see what to do. To me, that's a better term, the unfolding. And that really changed the perception of this. And right now I'm just unfolding a massive encyclopedia is the way I'm seeing it about my future. So unfolding versus unlocking is a lot better term. So thanks for that.
And Stel, I think the light bulb for me is that the boundaries that we perceive in our lives are actually created by us. And that's an exciting proposition. So that future really is unlimited in terms of potential. And that's an exciting thought. And I just love the way that you're able to take really complicated stuff and make it simple and make it also inspiring. I really think you found your sweet spot. So we'll put links in the show notes to all three of you, so that if people want to get in touch with each of you related to your expertise and your coaching and your businesses, we'll do that. But
and
always
Mark,
enjoy spending time.
I just want to share about we're always in our way. I'll tell you one thing. Almost every quarter going to coach, strategic coach, that's what I write down. Get out of your way. And I know Stel has, and I know the majority of the people in that room, we are our biggest opponent. But a lot of times the reframing is blaming others or the world or whatnot. So
Sure. Stel, any last words? This has been fantastic.
I'm going to step outside my comfort zone, which I've never done and I don't normally do. I'm going to self-plug right now.
Yeah.
And so my website's Dr. Nick at drnick.ca. There's a link in there for that complimentary discovery call. Okay. And if it helps people gain the value that we talked about on this call, I highly recommend you click the button and you'll have an hour with me, book a time slot. And if anything resonated in terms of what we talked about today, as you can see, I know a lot of people. And if there's anything that'll support you in any direction that you need to go, whether it's me or anybody else, and you want to unfold your potential, click the button. But thank you, Mark. It was great. Like, this is my first exposure, like I said, with talking about my coaching side of what I do. And like Andre said, it scared the bejeepers out of me, but I'm very comfortable in knowing where I'm going now. And this just proved it. And I always love the way you interview, and today was another example. So you inspired me too. So
Well, I
thank you.
appreciate every time that we get together on Contributors Corner. I get so much out of it, and I appreciate the wisdom that all three of you share, and through your life experience, and just through who the people you are. You want to make the world a better place. You want to redeem work, and that's what we're all about here. So, Dr. Stel, Dr. James Bryant, Andre Brisson, thank you so much, you guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
thanks.
for unfolding.